This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
Previously on Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels. This is Bill Jernowski from the Dorklair Collecting Podcast, and you're listening to Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
The road to Solo concluded, and at the end of that hyperspace lane was Solo, A Star Wars Story, which debuted in theaters on May 24th. So, of course, our hypothetical discussion segment this week is all about Solo. Joining us for our review is the host of Dorklair, a Star Wars collecting podcast devoted to SH figure arts and other imported action figures. Bill Jernowski, welcome to Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
What did you think?
I loved it.
This was the movie that brought me back to that original reason that I fell in love with Star Wars.
I felt like there was just that more youthful, cocksure attitude, with them at this age.
In summary, Scoundrels, not only do I currently enjoy the new Solo movie, I have always supported its creation and always knew it would be well done, despite the lies placed in episodes 3, 7, 11, 13.5, 15 through 27, 28 through 46, and episodes 58.
Isn't this episode 56?
Trust me, just like you could trust my predictions on tax rates and how great this movie is. Back to you, Janus.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to put this edition of Science Fools out of its misery.
Great kid! Don't get cocky!
Hello, Scoundrels. Summer is here, and we're ready to talk more Star Wars. Here's what we have in store for this week's show. Electronic Arts had announcements for Star Wars video games at E3. We'll discuss what is in store for Star Wars gamers and this week's news. Taxus is back with another edition of Skystalking. Stick around to find out where all the Star Wars celebrities are appearing in the month of July. One episode is not enough discussion for Solo, A Star Wars Story. We dive back into the movie and this week's hypothetical. Finally, we have a question about Kira and our Twitter poll results and Silence Fools. We went with Tobias Beckett, so we are stuck in this life for good. Thanks for joining us for episode 57 of Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
It's not a long time ago. It's not in a galaxy far, far away. It's right here, right now. Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels. The source for Star Wars news and discussions with your hosts, Dennis Keithley.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
Jay Krebs.
Yeah, but it's custom. It's custom faded?
And Darth Taxus. Get ready for fast-flying, saber-swinging, hot space opinions from your hosts, analysis, and other stuff, fun stuff. I'm not your host. I'm just a generic, unpaid announcer.
Thanks, Mario.
Until you unionize. Welcome back, Scoundrels, to the podcast that thinks whoever Wendy is, she needs to sue the city of Chicago. I'm your OG co-host, bootlegging Dark Cider,
Darth Taxus!
coming to you from the Sears outlet store of my flagship, the Assessor Collector. And with me are my co-hosts, who wonder if Oprah is a common Irish surname. Dennis the Phantom Menace Keithley and Jay the Hutjeer Krebs. Dennis and Jay.
I don't even want to ask how we got into the Irish thing, but hey, everybody, Jay here. Welcome back to our listeners that have been with us before, and for those of you that are new, welcome. You mentioned cider, and I don't know if you guys have tried this, but the new Stella cider, it's really good.
Stella Artois? Is that what it is?
Oh, just saying, it tastes like green apple Jolly Ranchers.
Oh my gosh.
That sounds good. I usually go with the Austin East Cider draft. That's pretty good too. Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Well, hello everyone. Dennis is here, and we've been a couple interesting weeks in Star Wars, both in the community and with Solo and everything else is going on. But hey, let's start with a little bit of celebration discussion, because those tickets did go on sale on June 5th. So
wait, what?
I think. Yeah, sorry, man. So I think the three of us got set up. Am I correct in saying that?
I did.
Yes, for me.
I had my people on it. Yep.
That's, top men, right? Okay.
Well,
yeah,
maybe bottom two. I don't know.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. 5-day adult tickets have sold out.
Oh,
and
no.
in addition, Saturday adult tickets have sold out for Celebration.
Oh, no.
So if you are interested in going, I highly recommend you work on collecting tickets for the days that you think you can be there. Keep your eyes and ears open. You might find someone selling a pass. Technically not supposed to do that, but they don't generally check as things get closer to time. And do remember that Thursday is the Bounty Hunter Day, which doesn't have any panels or anything. It's mainly just a floor day where you can see what the vendors and the store is doing. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday are the main days with panels, presentations, and celebrities and signings and things like that. In addition, hotels are getting a little hard to come by at this point. Did either of you try and book anything through the official hotel block that Celebration had?
I did not. I jumped on it the very first day that Celebration was announced. I just went ahead and tried to jump on getting a hotel close by. So that was just done. So it was just one of those things I could check off my list. How about you guys?
Well, I had trouble finding a hotel room, but I have a cunning plan. I'm going to fake a major injury and stay in an emergency room, kind of dock in the box thing every time I need to sleep.
I don't know how that's going to work out. Good luck with that.
It's going to involve lots of ketchup.
All right.
I do have a whole gallon of fake blood in my laundry room. Don't ask me why, but I do.
And I thought I was the weird one.
You still are.
Okay.
Well,
can I borrow
at any rate,
some?
I initially had a room booked at the Hilton that's right there next door, but then
Hyatt, I think.
Okay, the Hyatt, the Hilton, whatever it was. And again, it was for the convenience because it's connected to the convention center there. However, my family is coming up for the weekend of Celebration, so I needed something a little bit bigger and had to move. And wow, that block that they had, if you didn't get in real quick, it made things a little difficult as it was hard to get a room for that Wednesday night right beforehand or that Thursday night. And so, at any rate, I if you are having trouble finding a place through the Star Wars Celebration website with their official block of hotels, I would highly recommend using a site like booking.com or Expedia or something else. And I've been able to find rooms, and I've sent a few people that way, and they've been able to find rooms to meet every night that they're going to be there. So,
or send me an email at darthtaxus@yahoo.com, and I'll try to find a place for you too. Hey, maybe we can pretend we were in a massive accident together.
Stupid call.
Okay. Moving on. So, past guest or a past featured vendor on That's So Wizard, Michael Pascal, had done his solo print to coincide with Solo, and I ordered it, and that showed up last week, and wow, that thing is a thing of beauty. It looks fantastic. It's really I was sitting in my office. I need to get it framed and ready to go, but it was fun having that show up. And then the pen with the gold dice was included with that, which was also
awesome.
Spectacular.
Do you love it?
I do. I really do. I'll have to take a picture of the wall where all my Star Wars art is hanging up, and at the moment, there's no place to put this print, so I'm gonna have to do some rearranging. I can move some things around and make space and get it up, no problem. But I'm looking forward to do that. The hard part is just finding some time because it's going to take a couple hours to get everything down and move it around. So
that sounds like way too much effort. I just
it's a labor of love.
I just lay it on a table.
Yeah. And then Jay, also, my wife was listening to the last edition of That's So Wizard, and she replaced our wind chimes outside with one of the Star Wars chimes that you had from ThinkGeek that you talked about. And
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's really pretty cool. It's the set that's got Leia and a Death Trooper, K2SO, and a few other characters on there. But that was a fun surprise to come home to.
Yeah, and if I could say, I was happy to see that she chimed in on our Discord channel to show us that picture.
Yes, she did indeed. So I have to ask, does it make like we were saying last episode with the musical chimes, or is it just a basic wind chime?
Strangely, every single chime makes a fart noise.
No, indeed it does not. It is it's a standard chime.
I'd pay money for that.
And
Okay.
the biggest thing about it is as cool as it is, and it does. We haven't had a lot of wind, so I haven't had an opportunity to really hear it do its thing. But
Breaking wind.
shut up, Taxus. But the figurines being there, they don't catch the wind as easy as a normal chime does. So it hasn't done a lot of ringing and chiming yet. But anyway,
but it will next spring. I'm telling you. You live in Texas through spring, you're going to encounter some massive wind.
Oh, there you go.
Exactly.
My neighbors actually, I had some neighbors move down here from Pennsylvania one year, and they said after one storm, is the weather like this here every year? I said, yeah, pretty much. The for sale sign was out 2 months later. I'm not kidding you.
Scared them right away, huh?
Yeah, it is, yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else going on with y'all in Star Wars,
I had a little fun Star Wars, or I'm going to have a little fun Star Wars fun.
Okay.
So I'm going to be attending a gala event, and there's going to be regional and local governors, perchance, and possibly senators from the Imperial Senate. I'm not sure. So yours truly is going to be dressed to the nines, but I decided to work in a little Star Wars fun, something I've always wanted to get my hands on. So I have secretly ordered some Imperial logo cufflinks and a tie clip. I'm going to see if anybody there gives me the knowing nod.
You'll probably get somebody. I would bet.
Well, if the Lady Taxus knows that I've got them on, she's going to be like, take those off. I can't believe you put those on in this event. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Oh, she knows I'm all about pushing envelopes and also licking envelopes. So that would be something that she would, think like, oh gosh, I don't want him going off the rails again, But she's generally pretty good about putting up with my craziness. I mean, actually,
someone has to.
Yeah, she's really good. I mean, I can't believe she asked me into her life, to be honest with you.
Oh, well, they always say everybody has a soulmate. So I did a little bit of Star Warsing as well. I'm a big Pinterest person, and I happened to see where someone had taken their Star Wars coffee mugs and turned them into little planters. So I actually did that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I took 3 of them. I have a R2-D2, a Boba Fett, and a Yoda coffee mug. And I planted little succulents in each one of them, and they're actually displayed on an old-fashioned sewing machine table that I repurposed, and it is outside, cool. And with a few other things. So I did that, and I also went to Kohl's for my son, and of course we were in the guys section. And what did I end up buying?
A guy?
I got money.
I bought a Chewbacca shirt, like one of those golf type button-up sort of
cool.
shirts. The one that, yeah. So I figured what I would do is I would cut the sleeves out of it and hem it a little bit. Then I could tie it in the front with a little cami, and it's really cool because it's very tropical looking. So,
are you interested in taking up golf?
No, not at all.
Oh, because I was going to do that.
Well, good luck.
I thought we could do that together.
No.
All right. Well, this seems to start to go off the rails again here. So, with that, why don't we head over to the news? Okay, this week's news focuses on video games. Jay, please tell us about the first announcement.
And I am so excited about this. Electronic Arts have detailed some of their plans for Battlefront II for later this year. Currently, the game is in the middle of its Han Solo season, but players can look forward to a Clone Wars update later this fall. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, General Grievous, and Count Dooku will enter Battlefront 2 along with the planet of Geonosis.
Well, the entire planet?
They said it's going to be like the biggest map that they've ever released.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They also announced several quality of life improvements and other gameplay modes that will be added to the game. And my 16-year-old has definitely been keeping me up to date on everything. As a matter of fact, right before I came down to record, he was showing me all the new skins that with the Han Solo season, and we were talking about the Clone Wars and his hopes for his wish list and what he wants to see. So it's pretty exciting. We were thinking for a while, are we going to get Clone Wars? Are we not? And then this announcement came out, and it made a lot of people happy.
Wow! So quality of life improvements, or like the bathroom comes to you. Thank you, Joey Letson. I did that just for you.
There you go. And something like that, but no.
Well, some of the other announcements that they made is that they're going to have a hero starfighter mode. If you're not familiar with Battlefront 2, or you haven't played the space portion of it that much, you basically always start off with a fighter, and the only way to fly as the Millennium Falcon or Slave One or any of the hero ships is by building enough battle points up, and then you can unlock them. Unfortunately, that frequently leads to a very limited time that you can play with those ships because they kind of become a target for everybody else.
Yep.
So having an opportunity to fly with those ships from the beginning of a match would be fun and a welcome addition to the game. I unfortunately just haven't had an opportunity to really get into the Han Solo season yet. I know they added Jabba's Palace, which I've been eager to check out, and I know they had the disguise for Lando that we discovered was from Solo.
Surprise! It's Lando in disguise.
And then Leia's Bausch costume is in there as well. But like I said, I've been excited to try it out, just haven't had an opportunity. But the Clone Wars editions is going to be pretty cool. I'm glad to see that Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan are going to be there. I am hoping that these aren't the only 4 characters that they're adding, and that maybe we get someone like a Commander Cody or Captain Rex, and then a corresponding type blaster character for the Separatists, and Cad Bane maybe. And I'd love to see them add Ahsoka and Asajj Ventress.
Oh yes,
yeah.
That was 2 for sure. I know we were talking about that as well here at home.
Yeah, I would love to see Padme go after Vader.
Yeah. There's they could. I don't know how long that season is going to be and how many characters they intend to add, and I hope this is just a tease. These first 4 that they gave out, but that era is largely untapped in the game right now. So
that's true.
Other than they have Maul in there, and they just don't have and they have the Camino is their Clone Wars era world right now, and Naboo's in there, but they don't have a lot of characters from that time period and a lot of content, and there is more Clone Wars content in Star Wars than any other era when you consider the television series and the 3 movies. So I'd love to see.
I always have trouble playing the Clone Wars stuff that they have currently in Battlefront 2. Like my character always walks away from battles with a lot of Naboo-boos.
Naboo-boos, haha. Well, yeah, I'm sure that the 4 that they've talked about, I know, I laughed, I went, haha. But these are the marquee players, the marquee character type things. But, I'd even like to see some clone commandos in there. I think that would be really cool. Yeah. But with Geonosis being so big, I mean, you think about all the things that happened on Geonosis. I mean, you've got the droid factory. I would love to see somehow like a playable arena type thing, which I know is not necessarily like a battle mode per se, but I guess there's just so many improvements that are coming down the pike. And one of the interviews, one of the EA people were saying that you guys have spoken, we are listening, we're making a lot of fixes, and basically like power to the players, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Moment of silence for Geonosian genocide.
Anyway, this game has a long way to go because they had kind of a rough launch with the attempt to have you buy the game and then kind of double dipping with the microtransactions, which was not the best decision. But I like the way that they've recovered with this. I talked about it on several previous episodes, but the night on Endor was still one of my most favorite things ever about Battlefront 2. Cool. And I did not care. The only time I really cared about staying alive as a stormtrooper is if there was some daily quest that I needed to complete by shooting so many Ewoks as a stormtrooper. But after that, I was always like, just kill me now so I can be an Ewok and go out for these stormtroopers again. But I
think that's the quote of the year. Just kill me now so it can be a storm Ewok.
Yeah. All right. Well, Taxus, we got another video game announcement. Clue us in.
We do. And here are the clues that I will be inning on you right now with this bit of cluing information. Star Wars gamers also have a new action-adventure game to look forward to. In the new game, branded Star Wars Jedi, Fallen Order, not a semicolon, that's a full colon. Players will experience the story of a surviving Padawan set shortly after the events of Star Wars, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. So, okay, surviving Padawans. This seems to be a theme recently with a lot of Star Wars stories, huh?
Yeah, well, and that's fine. We just talked about it on our bonus episode from this past week. And in case you haven't read Darth Vader yet, we won't go into details on that. But and then, of course, Kanan was a surviving Padawan as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've heard, I don't know if this is official or not, but I've heard someone say that it sounds like this Padawan is going to be customizable by the player. So that means you could make it male, you could make it female, you could make it potentially a Twi'lek or a human or something else. It's not going to be a set character. And so, okay, I guess I don't have an official source to quote for that, but I saw that repeated in a few places. So maybe someone said that, I don't know, but I would love to see it that way.
Yeah,
I'd love to see it. Yeah, I like the games where you get to customize your character a bit and go through, some of the other games that Electronic Arts has done with Dragon Age and Mass Effect. You get to customize your player character some, make it male or female, pick a different class, and pick your race in many occasions, and then they just basically give you a last name or a title, and that's how all the characters refer to you in the game. You can name whatever you want.
Yeah, sure.
But you'd be like in this case, you'd be something like Padawan or Jedi or something like that throughout the game, so that they could get around the gender issues when they're recording dialogue and stuff. So,
or just maybe some fluid names like Chris or Pat.
Well, I don't have no idea, but but the idea again is that it's great to get some Star Wars single player content out there because there hasn't been much.
So the thing I think I kind of like about this is it almost sounds like in the MMORPG where you can kind of direct the powers that your character is going to develop over its time and as it gains levels. Maybe we're going to experience this here. You know what I mean? Like one of the things I love about those old Jedi games is that you could decide, okay, do I want to go a little dark or stay light? You know what I mean? And that was really cool to me back then. And I think we got that with, they kind of built that into the Old Republic game,
right?
To where, I saw some really sickly looking, supposedly light side characters running around out there. Just saying, you know what I mean?
Well, and I remember with that game that the producers at BioWare and Electronic Arts were saying, you can be a good person in a bad place trying to do the right thing. And that's how they had light side characters. You could play your character as a light side character working for the Sith Empire.
Right.
Or you could be a type of a character, working for the Republic who is doing whatever it takes, which maybe, lead you down a dark path in order to try and preserve the Republic. So, there are those opportunities. I don't, they haven't said anything about a force system here, a force alignment system yet with this game, but this will be one to follow, I think, over the course of the next year. And something to look forward to in 2019. So
is this Electronic Arts as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they have different studios working for them, but I'm pretty sure Electronic Arts has the exclusive license to put out to produce Star Wars games.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So
my son and I were talking about, sorry, Taxus, just the different skins that are available for different players, and how cool would it be if you could actually upload an image of yourself and play with your own skin, so to speak. That sounds creepy, but you know what I mean.
So
I like the idea. I'm not sure how they would implement that, because it had to be some sort of 3D scanning, I think, in order to make that work completely. But I do like the idea. And it wasn't too long ago that I heard there was some of the gaming companies were going to try and figure out how to do something like that. I think the biggest problem they ran into was the amount of memory it took, and it was not conducive to doing online play because of the amount of resources it would take to transmit those images
that makes
from the console. So.
Or you could just upload your favorite meme or something. You know, this reminds me when I was a kid, and I went out on a rowboat, and I had 2 paddles with me, and somehow I lost the second paddle, but I made it back to shore with the paddle 1, the surviving paddle 1.
Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this brief look at Star Wars news. For more Star Wars stories and announcements, check out retrozap.com, theforce.net, Jedi News, Bantha Tracks, theforce.net, and starwars.com.
Carbonite funeral, please.
The kids of the 70s and 80s are all grown up, but the good times of childhood don't have to end.
Our generation can share the fun and fandom of our youth with the next generation and bring the past into the future.
And wrap it all up to make a fantastic present.
Join Jedi Schwa and Chef's Bazaar every Monday morning to get your work week started by reminiscing about the past and exploring the future with your earbuds on Techno Retro Dads.
So find us on iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, or on retrozap.com. Part of the RetroZap Network.
Be like what? Like we're being watched.
I am wondering, why are you here?
I'm looking for someone.
Looking? Found someone you have, I would say.
July is right around the corner, and it's time to find out where all the Star Wars celebrities are going to be. Taxus, fill us in.
Well, it's starting to get a little bare, a little hit and miss, but starting out in July 6th through the 8th, Montreal Comic-Con, Montreal, Canada, we've got Julian Glover and Ray Park. After that, or actually, same weekend, Anime Midwest in Chicago, James Mathis III, who is Captain Typho in the Clone Wars. All right. July 7th, Fan World, Niagara Falls, New York. We got the Harp Twins. It's been a while since we've seen anything from them, but they did some great renditions of some Star Wars music on their dual harps. July 12th, Florida SuperCon, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We got Hugh Spite, who was a puppeteer in The Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, now, the interesting story about Hugh Spite real quick. He was credited as Hugh Spirit in the credits rolled in that. And it caused him some problems for a little while, but he played the Gamorrean guard that escorted Han after they brought him up after the whole Rancor thing. So, and he was also a Mon Calamari in the movie.
All right. We got Sam Witwer, Jen Cohn, who's a voiceover artist for The Old Republic, Darth Zash, Dana? Yeah, it's Dana.
Yes.
Dana Snyder, voiceover for Lego Star Wars, and Grabala the Hutt. Howard Chaykin, who worked on the classic Marvel Comics, the original issue of the film adaptation of Star Wars. Rhiannon Owens, who actually is probably a tops artist, based on what I can see. Let's see, July 12th through the 15th, we've got Connecticon in Hartford, Connecticut, and we got Steve Bloom. We all know what he does, and Vanessa Marshall. Wow, that's a good. Hey, you know what I started thinking? I wonder if she's going to be at Celebration.
I hope so.
Wow.
I hope so.
Maybe we have to substitute barbecue for some deep dish pizza or something, you know?
That works too.
That works for me. Atlanta.
We still have our, sorry.
Okay.
I was just going to say we have our standing obligation to cosplay together, so I hope she's there.
We do.
Okay, moving on.
Atlanta Comic-Con in Atlanta, Georgia, the same weekend. Ray Park and Jim Cummings, who was Hondo Anoka.
Yes.
Then we've got Comic-Con International, July 19th through the 22nd. And that's actually the San Diego Comic-Con, but I think they renamed it like that. Am I right?
Sure.
Okay. E.K. Johnston, who wrote the Ahsoka book and other stuff. And Daniel Jose Older, and we know he's the author of Last Shot.
And I would not be surprised to see more Star Wars celebrities get announced sometime within the next month.
Oh, totally.
Or the last couple weeks before leading up to the con. So keep your eyes on that one.
It's still pretty early, right? MetroCon in Tampa, Florida. Same weekend, we've got Kyle Rowling, who is Christopher Lee's fight double in episodes 2 and 3, and also the motion capture model for General Grievous.
Fun.
Now here's one in our backyard, North Texas. Comic Book Show in Irving, Texas, July 21st to the 22nd. Bob Wyacek?
It's either Wyacek or Wyacek.
Wait a sec.
You
suck!
Star Wars comics. He was the inker for the classic series. Okay. This is the big this month. And it's in London, not the University of Kentucky, but London, United Kingdom. July 27th through 29th, the London Film and Comic-Con. I'm just going to read through this list. We've got Ray Park, Jimmy V, who's the new R2, Kieran Gillen, who, of course, is the writer for Star Wars, Darth Vader, and Afra. Shauna McDonald, who is a Command Center Resistance pilot in The Last Jedi. Daniel Napris, who was Vader in Rogue One along with Spencer Wilding. Michael Culver, who was Captain Nita. No apologies needed. Julian Glover, General Veers. Jeremy Bullock, we all know who he is. Ariana Flooring, who is a penciler for the IDW Star Wars Adventures comics. Hui Trong, who is a top sketch artist. Angela Staines, who is one of the twins in the Cantina in New Hope. Martin Fisher, Star Wars Rebels magazine.
Yeah.
Yes. Kevin Thompson, who's Chebre the Ewok, but Mama just said he was husky. Mike Quinn, Nian Nub. We've got Richard Glover, who was Red 12 and Rogue One. Ole Christian Uglum, who I think was part of the production crew of The Empire Strikes Back. Simon Myers, who I think is involved with the new Star Wars comics. I don't know. Some of the stuff I saw. It was kind of vague. That was the one problem. They didn't really,
I'm not familiar with that name, and I've done a lot on Star Wars comics.
I know.
So I'm not sure what that is.
I tried looking that up, but it had, Star Wars references all over the place for him on their website, but they never said what from. But I just saw, I think pictures of BB-8 or something like that. We've got Bob Spiker, who was a Tusken Raider in A New Hope. Casper Wingard, who is either just got finished playing in the Stanley Cup or is part of the new Marvel Star Wars comics. Kim Falkenberg, and I think that she was that weird alien in the cantina with the sunken eyes when it's the scene of the Ithorians doing, and it shows anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. Penny McCarthy, assistant auditor for New Hope, but for some reason the website also had a picture of the Deveronian in New Hope, so I'm wondering if I got to go back and look at my old Star Wars books. I think talks a little bit about this with the costuming. I think it identifies all the actors and stuff that played those aliens, and I just want to make sure to line it up. Dave Barclay, Jabba the Hutt puppeteer from The Return of the Jedi. Peter Mayhew. Whoa, that's a rare. Not weird. That's a rare Peter Mayhew sighting. Especially since he's a Texan. Ivy Wong, the Rogue One little street girl. Katie Sackhoff. We all know she does the. Who was the character again? I guess I don't know when I said we all know. Jay?
She was in. Yes, thank you.
Oh, yes, that's right. And thank you, Fantha Tracks, for listing that, too, because I missed that on the actual London website. And rounding it off, we got Rodney Tosh, who is a Rogue One Death Trooper. Okay. Same weekend, Raleigh SuperCon in Raleigh, North Carolina. We've got Sam Witwer, Steve Bloom, and Dana Snyder, who's, of course, Grabella the Hutt. RobCon, Bristol, Tennessee. I guess I just named it after a dude named Rob or something. But we got Rick Leonardi, who did some Star Wars comics tie-in with General Grievous back with the Dark Horse when they had the title. And finally, Texas Latino Comic Con in Dallas, Texas, July 28th. Sam De La Rosa. And I don't know, I might have to go there. Just saying for that. Represent S Cubed.
Hey.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And you're up to date.
Yeah, Sam De La Rosa was involved in Star Wars comics, so that would be interesting to get. Okay, well, Scoundrels, if you go out and meet any of these celebrities, we'd love to hear about it. Send us an email to sqpod@retrozap.com. And as always, make sure you check out the websites for these conventions and make sure that there hasn't been any postponements for any of these guests, or additions for that matter. You might, especially with San Diego's Comic-Con, that is more than likely to get a few more Star Wars guests. But that will do it for this week's edition of Skystalking. not be long for the theaters, but Solo is still fresh in our minds, and we can't discuss it enough. So again, it'll be the subject of this week's hypothetical. When we did our discussions of Rogue One and The Last Jedi, we kind of broke things down into character groups and talked about them. That's how we first had Jay on the show, was talking about Jyn Erso. But for this conversation, I kind of wanted to touch on parts of the movie that we didn't discuss as much, or some of the aspects of it. And one of the things we didn't discuss a whole lot last time was Corellia and its portrayal in the film. So I wanted to start there. What did you guys think about Corellia in the movie?
Well, I mean, the first thing that struck me was just how really cold and kind of scummy it was. That it's just, it's this world that doesn't really see a whole lot of sunshine, and even when they do, it's kind of obscured, and so you just kind of get this really dingy feel to it at first. And you really feel for the people that have to live there and have to work there. But everybody has a home that they call home, and if you don't know anything different, then I guess you're not upset. But
okay. Well, actually, I was a little disappointed, to be honest with you. Even though I know in lore, like, Corellia is this great shipbuilding planet, I always felt like it was like, let's say, a pinnacle of civilization. You know what I mean? Like, they were kind of a wealthy planet because of the shipbuilding, and because of that, it probably was like nice and clean, and you know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, on that regard, for those of us that grew up with the Legends books and novels and things like that, Corellia was often spoken of the way that some people speak of Italy. There was these. I'm trying to think of how to explain it. I remember Jaina Solo once remarked that Jag Fell was purebred Corellian, and she found that attractive. And and then if you ever played Star Wars Galaxies, it's kind of what you were saying there, Taxus. It was a very it had these cities spaced throughout, but then it was kind of a pristine planet, and you got the feeling that all that shipbuilding was done in orbit, and it wasn't polluting the surface. And so that's very much a Legends perspective of what Corellia looked like.
Well, and I don't even remember where the source was for me to think of that. Maybe it's just kind of in me, thinking about, okay, we've got a planet it's this advanced and this advanced time in the galaxy, or whatever, long time ago. I wouldn't expect to have seen it be so industrial. You know what I mean? I would expect to see that kind of stuff happen. Let's say all of a sudden Tatooine started developing an industrial society. I would expect to see it there. You know what I mean?
Sure, but let's think of the larger Star Wars universe that we've got with the current canon. Look what happened to Lothal.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
That place, when we first were introduced to that planet in season 1, it was a clean planet. They had a large agricultural economy. They had a nice big city. Lothal City there, or Capital City, whatever they called it, and it was relatively clean. And then the Empire moved on, and they started stripping the planet for its resources, and they set up their TIE Defender manufacturing facilities there. And, by the end of the final season, anytime we saw that city, you could see the smog hanging out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if either of you had the opportunity to read Ray Carson's Most Wanted opportunity yet, but at one part, Kira gets sent on a mission by Lady Proxima, and she has to take kind of a tram or a train of some kind up this mountain, and she rises up above that smog level and remarks about how beautiful Corellia is.
Oh, really?
From that point, yeah.
Cool.
And so it really is the fact that the Empire has taken over the galaxy, and they're using up the resources they're taking everything they can out of these planets.
Okay.
And Corellia is just one such example of that. But the other thing you brought up there is with the shipbuilding. I really liked the portrayal of how the ships were being built. You saw the hull of one of the Star Destroyers above the planet.
Cool. Yep.
And then you saw the bridges of the various ships being kind of constructed elsewhere. We saw the shield generators when they were racing away from Moloch's speeder.
That was cool. Yeah.
Later, and you just kind of saw there was a crane lifting one up and moving, and there had a whole row of those things. I kind of got a Eastern Seaboard harbor feel from Coronet. I guess that was the name of the city on Corellia there. It seemed to draw some real world inspiration.
Yeah, like some naval shipyards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, changing the topic here, what did y'all think of Lady Proxima and the White Worms?
Well, I did read Most Wanted, so that definitely, I actually didn't read it, I listened to it, but that did give me a new perspective. I've definitely been going with the audio versions of books here lately.
My goodness.
It's just so much easier, but anyways, it's, I mean, of course, she's this head of this whole cartel, I guess, if you want to call it, but I know my son wasn't real happy with the portrayal of Lady Proxima. I didn't have a problem with it as far as a character was concerned. He just thought she looked really fake, and I didn't have a problem with it at all. But I thought it was an interesting new type of alien, or species, not alien. And I don't know. I think there's definitely a lot of underworld kinds of things that we don't necessarily know about, and this is just one of those, and it was just kind of interesting. I appreciated it as a character.
Okay, so I loved it. I loved the new species. I loved how they just threw them at us. You know what I mean? Because that reminded me of old Star Wars. It's like, hey, walk into this cantina. There's all these crazy aliens. I don't need to stop down and give you 2 minutes for every one of their backstories. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sure.
It's like we're supposed to just understand, hey, this is just something that's happening. You know what I mean? It's, that's the thing that I loved about it. I loved the fact that there was a little bit of an edge that Han could figure out to use against her, the whole Moloch thing. I actually got multiple legs, but I remember from the official guide, not the visual guide, that he strove to walk like a bipedal being so that nobody could tell. Loved the fact that he threw that armor on whenever the light hit him. I thought it was really well done. And Jay, I understand what your son's saying, because I think it was on less than 12 parsecs, the fastest podcast in the galaxy. That somebody said they didn't like the way that she looked because she looked too puppety.
Yes, that's exactly what he said too.
Well,
and I don't agree.
Well, I kind of like that because I want a little more of that live puppetry stuff. You know what I mean? There's just something about it you can't capture with CGI. And
that's exactly what I told him too. And I said, the thing of it is that these practical effects are becoming a lost art. And, and that's one of the reasons why I appreciated it, I think, was because it wasn't CG.
Right.
That it was bringing back an art form in a way that we don't get to see that often. But I like the point that you make about not questioning it. We didn't question Jabba the Hutt. We didn't question the Dianoga.
Right.
We don't question the Wampa. So, all of a sudden people are like, I don't know about this species.
Yeah, we didn't have a good backstory in that. And I just have to say, Dylan Bocephus, Jehoshaphat Krebs, you need to listen to your mother.
He does. He's very, it's actually awesome to have these conversations with him because he really is into it. And, I can bounce ideas off of him and we can discuss and debate, and it's all good.
We call him Debo G for short.
Okay.
One of the things that I noticed about Lady Proxima is that she was kind of this is the nerdy comment I'm going to make for the evening, kind of the reverse of one of the worms from Dune, or especially Emperor Leto. The worms in Dune, water killed them essentially, and then broke them down into their sand trout, and then they could go make other worms elsewhere. But she survived in the water. She was adverse to the light. But I was wondering if there was any type of an inspiration that the Kazdans took there. Jabba the Hutt was kind of inspired by Leto from Dune, and so I wondered if this was a further evolution of that regard. But one of the other things about that scene on Corellia was the speeder, and that speeder chase they had. Jay, you may remember from Most Wanted that the whole big deal they made about speeders in that book, and how Han was secretly building one in a nearby garage. And for a little bit, I was wondering if perhaps that speeder that he had in the movie was the one that he'd been working on that entire time. But then I saw the movie again and I realized, oh no, wait a minute, he made a clear reference that this was he stole that speeder from whoever it was that he was supposed to make that delivery to. Right. But one of the other thing that comes to that speeder chase was, he did that little sideways maneuver to try and get through that narrow alley. I thought that was a nice reference to, a lot of visual shots in Star Wars. The most relevant one I can think of was from The Empire Strikes Back when they're in the asteroid field and the TIE fighters are pursuing him, and he does that sideways maneuver to get through that little nook and kind of that valley and elude those two TIE fighters. But it seemed like that was kind of an early development of that maneuver that he would use several times throughout his life.
I kind of took that to be like a little bit of an homage to Grease. Didn't they have
I have to admit, I'm not familiar with Grease.
Jay, I know you are.
Oh, yeah.
That
I can see that.
The racing scene?
I can see where you're... absolutely.
Didn't they do something like that?
Yeah, similar. I can definitely see where you're going with that.
Also, I think a James Bond movie did that trick too, if I remember correctly. So when I saw it and I'm thinking, when it ended the way it did, I thought, oh, that's well done. You know what I mean? Because it didn't work.
Right.
The way he wanted. But you're right, Dennis, because he did reference the fact that he was trying to pull that off before when they're escaping the Maw.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And and that was, I wasn't going to bring that up just yet because we were talking about, just because you're talking about Corellia, but you're absolutely right. It was nice that they set that up. This was a maneuver that he tried in Corellia and it didn't quite work. And Kira reminds him of that. It didn't work on Corellia, and then he pulled it off. But at the same time, slightly different, majorly different circumstances, getting away from the Maw, being able to engage, light speed. Again, it's, we see Poe pull this maneuver in The Force Awakens when he's going into Starkiller Base to blow things up. It's a visual maneuver that we see several times throughout the course of the movies. He even pulls it again in The Last Jedi when the TIE fighters are pursuing him as he's bombing, or he's destroying the turrets on the Dreadnought. So, and Hera's done something similar as well in Rebels. It's a very iconic maneuver for Star Wars. So what else stood out to you from this movie that we may not have covered in the past?
Gosh, there's so much, honestly. We talk about the Falcon all the time, and just the whole idea of L3 being part of the Falcon now. I just absolutely love that, and I can't get past it. And there's part of that that's almost sad in a way, because she's actually kind of, I don't want to use the word imprisoned within the Falcon forevermore, but she's also in a lot of ways, able to kind of live forever in that way too. And so I don't know, there's just so much about that whole idea that I just love so much.
Well, and I remember we discussed the fact that C-3PO made the reference to the peculiar dialect of the hyperdrive when he was plugged into that in The Empire Strikes Back, and then I think you had a reference from the Last Jedi novelization concerning that.
Oh yeah, I do, and actually, I might have it really handy here if you just give me a second, because there was some things that when I went back to read it again, and I thought, oh my gosh, they're totally talking about L3 here. So this is actually from the novelization of The Last Jedi. And so I had gone back to this because this had always kind of stood out to me anyways, that I fell in love with the Falcon all over again when reading some of these passages. But I want to read you guys this, and you're going to see why I picked it out. It says, the droid beeped an acknowledgement and urged the freighter to switch its sensors over to focus mode, probing the rock beneath them for matches with human energy signatures. Of course, course, this is when they were towards the end looking for all of them on Crate. It says the Falcon responded sulkily, then launched into a diatribe about its inadequate sensor antennae, power feeds to the dish that remained misaligned more than 3 decades after the incident that had knocked them out of place. And Chewbacca's obviously deliberate refusal to prioritize repairs the way the freighter thought made sense. When the Falcon mentioned something about barely being able to detect the back end of a bantha at high noon, R2-D2 suppressed an electronic sigh. The Falcon had always been cantankerous, its 3 droid brains quarreling endlessly unless focused to work together. Still, R2-D2 usually got along with the ship well enough. For one thing, none of the brains could stand C-3PO. For another, one of them had a fondness for both romantic gossip and dirty jokes, both of which R2-D2 had learned to provide in large quantities. It's L3!
Well, another reference that was just made there about prioritizing repairs and taking care of the Falcon, the new Lando miniseries that just came out, L3 spends a fair amount of time bickering with Lando about prioritizing upgrades for the Falcon. In the comic.
Look at that.
Because he wants to do I can't remember what the name of the leather is. He wants to put a new leather sofa in there and a wet bar. In the meantime, she's going on about, no, we need weapons and armor. And I cannot recommend that comic enough. And there's a great punchline that follows that related to that conversation that comes up later in that first issue. Other than say, check it out. I don't want to ruin it for you because it's a great line. L3 is at her height. I liked her in Last Shot, Daniel Jose Older's novel. I love her in Double or Nothing. They did such a great job. Rodney Barnes, I believe, wrote that, of portraying her in that comic so far. It's just been one issue, but what he did with her in that one issue was amazing.
Gosh, I wish I would have picked that up at Barnes & Noble when I was there. I had, just enough money to spend, but that's all right. I'll pick it up another time.
Well, the other thing about L3 is, a key part of her personality is the whole droid rights thing that's going on. And, it's kind of an interesting statement that they're making in Solo. If you kind of think back to a lot of what we've seen about droids, especially in the past for movies that's going on. We had K2SO, who was a reprogrammed Imperial droid, and he seems to be content with his lot in life. But then, L3... she put herself together. She built herself. She kind of cobbled herself together from whatever her initial form was that she came off the assembly line, that she spent a lot of time rebuilding herself. And then she was upset at the fights that were in the, wherever it was they were gambling. I can't remember where that was. Was that on Vandar? Yeah. But, and then later when they got to Kessel, she freed the one droid because she needed to use that terminal and made that one, restraining bolts, so barbaric. And as soon as she frees him, the droid beeps out, well, what do I do now? And she says something, I love the way they do that in Star Wars. They give you enough of one side of the conversation. They repeat back in the answer some portion of the question so that you can follow it. But she says, I don't know, go free your little droid brothers and sisters or whatever, which is exactly what that droid goes and does.
Right.
But I don't know. I've kind of always maintained that droids are a little bit abused in Star Wars. I mean, I don't believe that 3PO ever had to have his memory wiped. And if that advisor to Padme had been, say, a handmaiden, what would Bail Organa have done then? To tie up that loose end. I don't think he would have killed her or anything like that. But it was here's this protocol droid who doesn't actually have any history of blabbing away major secrets at that point, but we're going to wipe its mind anyway.
Yeah, he actually has a history of lying, to be honest.
Well, and the other thing is between him and R2-D2 was more of the vulnerability with information about the Republic and fleets we saw in Clone Wars than C-3PO ever was.
That's true.
But that's a bit of a tangent. But I think the whole droid rights liberation thing is actually a very understated element of Solo.
Well, and the thing is, too, I mean, as far as the whole restraining bolt thing goes, I can't remember where it was. Someone else was recently talking about this, and the idea came up that, well, if droids weren't able to exhibit free will, then why did they need a restraining bolt in the first place? You know what I'm saying? So, there's obviously, and I agree with you too, Dennis, as far as them being a little abused through the entire thing. And, people can say, oh, they're just machines or this, they're that. But, there is that artificial intelligence there. And as we saw at Jabba's palace, they can be tortured. Absolutely. So, and they have the ability to feel, maybe not as a sentient being can feel, but they still feel. And, and of course I've always been a droid lover. So, I'll definitely go to bat for any one of them. But it's interesting because I think R2 was the first kind of cantankerous droid that we saw. You know what I mean? And then they've been kind of getting more and more so. I mean, you look at Chopper and, and you mentioned K2SO, and now we've got L3. And so it's also, I think, an evolution of the times as well, that some of these things are being reflected in these droids, which I think is actually kind of cool.
Well, and Chopper was suffering from PTSD after the Y-Wing he was in crashed, and he refused to get any more Y-Wings. And then if you go to the Poe Dameron comics, the droids all get real upset about the prospect of having to fly with Jess Pava, because all the droids that fly with her get destroyed. And so they blame it on her, and many of them will short themselves out rather than get into an X-Wing with her. And that turns into a storyline for a while.
So that supports droid suicide.
Well, that's not what I was going with.
Okay.
But
just saying, if they're, I don't know, just throwing that out there. By the way, I bought a Roomba, and I'm not going to apologize.
Well, that's, it's not exactly artificial intelligence, though.
Is it?
It kind of is, but it's not.
It said my name.
Has your Roomba ever complained to you about the amount of space it has to vacuum?
It complains about the things I leave on the floor for it to vacuum up.
Okay, well, Taxus, did you have any other points about Solo that you wanted to discuss?
Well, maybe a couple, Dennis, now that we are talking about it. Let's see. So, I've made references to this being kind of a Western feeling movie. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And, one of my favorite, trilogy of movies are the Man with No Name trilogy. That was done... it was Sergio Leone. It kind of created the concept of the spaghetti western just because it was an Italian director who grew up studying as much as he could about the Old West. And when he got a chance to do a western, he revolutionized the industry. He made the every single character look gritty, unshaven, unclean, when previously westerns had white hats, black hats, beautiful looking, pressed clothing. You know what I mean? Everybody looked clean in those old 1930s, 40s, and 50s kind of westerns. And then we get to the 60s with the spaghetti western. He just kind of revolutionizes the entire industry. So when I was just doing a little research on him this week, I found out that A Fistful of Dollars, which was the first in that trilogy, was based on wait for it, Akira Kurosawa film, Yojimbo, which was in turn based on a 20s novel called Red Harvest.
Okay.
How weird is that? So that's the thing, is that I think that there's a reason why I love this movie, is because it instinctively touches a core within me, which is, standing up against all odds, and that's what Han Solo was doing, That's the thing that I really love about it, is that, Han, despite all the stuff that's going on, he's always got this great outlook, like, hey, I'm going to come on top. I'm going to overcome this. You know what I mean? I'm going to basically be a winner here. I know things look dark, but hey, we're gonna pull it out, right? It started kind of making me think too. We know Han, Kira, not so much Lando, not so much Chewie. But there's kind of a concept of mentors in this movie as well. You know what I mean? So Han kind of has Beckett as a mentor, right? You might say Kira has Boss as a mentor as well. Do you see a theme there with that?
Well, yes and no. The Beckett Han mentorship is very, very clear, and there's a lot of direct references to it. He's, let me give you some advice. You count on everyone betraying you, and you'll never be disappointed. That line that came from Beckett, right. And then the whole, you don't trust anybody. Then you pay attention to what he says. They have that exchange there at the end, like I was paying attention and that type of a thing. So there's that clear thing. When it comes to Dryden Voss and Kira, I think there's a lot missing from that story that makes it a clear-cut mentor-mentee relationship. We got a lot from Kira, a lot of statements from Kira over the course of the movie that I've done things that you wouldn't understand. I did things that, basically I had to do to survive. I did things that I had to do to get off of Corellia and get away from the White Worms so I could no longer be a Scrumrat. And she did, to your point, she did make references throughout the movie about, when she broke the Teretzkasi maneuver and Kessel, that, that's something that Dryden taught her. But it's more of a, he calls her one of his top lieutenants. And I think it's more of a corporate relationship in that regard, or what you think of as a traditional mafia structure in a way. Sometimes I kind of saw the organized crime and corporate structure in that relationship. It's like, he sent her with Han on a you're going to be successful or you're going to share their fate type of sense, sure. Which was not really a nurturing mentorship type of a thing to do.
Well, okay, so sure, that might not necessarily be the best mentor, yet for some reason she felt the need to call him to Darth Maul at the end. And in my opinion, I think if Han, and in fact we know Han was like, hey, come away with me. And without really getting too much into it, because I think that there was somebody that sent us something for Silence Fools later. I think I kind of agree with maybe the sentiment or the, hypothetical that they presented in that voicemail. So, yeah, we'll see about that later.
Okay.
Well, you talked about the whole, mentorship between Kira and Dryden, and I don't know, like Dennis, you said that they had more of a corporate type relationship as well, and I get kind of a, hair standing up on end feeling when I watch the two of them together, because they were obviously very familiar with each other. The way that she sat so close to him and she would put her hand on his knee, and and it just, I feel like there's more to it than that. I don't know. It's almost like
there was an implied relationship.
I'm not sure. I kind of got that feeling that there was a little more to it than that. But and at the same time, it kind of creeps me out.
Well, yeah. I mean, sure. That means they're doing a good job. I felt like she was. I kind of agree with you, Jay, because I kind of feel like she was cowed to a certain extent. The look in her eyes was kind of the same that she had when she finally contacted Maul. And it was like, she never lost slavery. She never left slavery.
Yeah.
That's basically what she was.
And of course, we want to know so much more about Crimson Dawn. I know I, for one, definitely do. And, what the heck is going on with all of that, and how Maul is entwined into all of this. So, yeah, I think there's a lot more to discuss, for sure.
I mean, the name Crimson Dawn makes sense to me. I mean,
well, I love the fact that his ship is called First Light too. You think Crimson Dawn,
wow,
First Light.
Yeah,
there's definitely like this connection going on there. So,
yeah, and I also like the fact that their logo looks a little bit like the hilt of the lightsaber that they were using. Maul was using as well.
Oh, so, this is true.
Maybe the Sith insignia too.
Yeah, perhaps a bit. Okay.
The circle. Just saying.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think that will do it then for this week's hypothetical. And based on the this conversation, I suspect we'll be talking more about Solo in the very near future. There is a lot more to discuss with this movie than I think a lot of people give it credit for.
Yeah.
But Scoundrels, we want to know what you think. So give us your thoughts, whether it's on our Discord server or a tweet, or hey, even perhaps email us at sqpod@retrozap.com.
It's time for...
Whoa, wait a minute. Before we do that, I really love that discussion we just had. There were so many great moments in Solo, a Star Wars story, but I think one of my favorites is actually from The Force Awakens.
After narrowly escaping Jakku, we find our heroic duo, Finn and Rey, along with their trusty droid companion, BB-8, reuniting the Millennium Falcon with Han Solo and Chewbacca the Wookiee. But others, like the Guavian Death Gang, are also looking for Solo and are currently docking with the freighter he is using to transport 3 lethal Rathtars. Concerned, Rey asks Han what he's going to do.
Same thing I always do, talk my way out of it. Yes, I do. Every time.
You're a dead man.
Balati! Wait, what was that?
I said you're a dead man. We loaned you 50.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow down there. Say that first part again very slowly.
I said you're a dead man.
I have no idea what he's saying. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're trying to say to me.
You're a dead man.
You don't have to yell. I can hear you just fine. I'm not deaf. I'm just having trouble understanding you. Could you try enunciating a little better?
I'm enunciating just fine.
Yeah, I got nothing. Are you eating something? It's not polite to talk with your mouth full.
I'm not eating anything. Listen to me carefully.
Maybe you got a lot of gum in your mouth, or you chewing spice?
Look, we're here to get our money.
It's all pops and clicks to me. I can't understand it at all. Chewy?
You can understand that giant bear dog just fine. Then how can you not understand me? I speak perfect basic.
You know, we can try to speak in basic. I didn't know it wasn't your first language.
I think you're trying to mess with me.
Look, I really can't understand you at all. I promise. I'm not trying to mess with you.
Ha! There! See, you can understand me.
Boy, the little fella is sure worked up over something.
Oh good, Kanjiklub is here. Look, this guy can't understand me for some reason. Can you explain to him that I came here for our money he owes us?
Don't know.
Oh, come off it. Not you two.
Look, why don't you try saying each word separately again, okay?
By Ashla's ample arse. Okay, you are
Go on.
dead man.
Oh. Nope, just not getting it. You can say that again. Because he sure can.
Oh, come on. How can you possibly understand what he just said? Nobody understands what he just said.
Sir, I think he said...
Shut up!
What?
Okay, I've just had about enough of this farce. Just open fire.
Oh, did you get that?
Fire! Oh, for the love of... Here, like this.
Terrifying and death-defying firefight while being chased by the Rathtars, Han, Chewie, Rey, Finn, and BB-8 all escape on the Falcon, leaving Balatik behind. Although he's lost, he recalls a silver lining that can salvage his loss and calls his headquarters.
Inform the First Order that Han Solo has a droid they want, and it's aboard the Millennium Falcon.
Do what?
That wasn't accurate at all.
No, it really wasn't.
Banded together across the television dial are the 4 greatest superhero podcasts on the internet. Green Justice and Arrow podcast, Scarlet Velocity, a Flash podcast, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Case Files, and Terrigen Dreams, an Inhumans podcast. Join Super Friends Jovial J and Jedi Schwa weekly as they provide commentary and discussion on your favorite heroes. Only on RetroZap.com.
Now it's time for...
Silence, fools!
Okay, well, it took a long time to get here, but up first,
Sorry
we
about
have
that.
this voice message from Steven at Roku Depot.
Oh.
Hey, Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels. This is Steven at Roku Depot, and I just wanted to chime in with a solo question. At the end of the movie, when Kira doesn't go with Han, she turns her back on him, she calls Darth Maul, she commits herself to Crimson Dawn. What do you think is going through Kira's mind at that moment? Does she turn her back on Han because she knows she can't go with him because Crimson Dawn will just hunt her down? And if she affiliates herself with Han, they'll hunt him down too. So in a way, she's trying to protect both of them the best way that she thinks that she can by, just coming up with the lie and telling that to Maul and selling that to him, and then taking Dryden's place in the command structure to maybe, try and keep Han safe, to keep any suspicion away from him. And, maybe down the line, maybe she'll find a way out. Or is it the whole I'm a survivor thing? I do whatever it takes. I've done dark things. I've done things you wouldn't like. Is she really committing herself to an opportunity to become more powerful? Is it because of power? Because now she can take Dryden's spot, and the only person above her now is going to be Maul. It's a dangerous gamble, but, hey, it's going to be a better lifestyle in that regard. If she's started out as a Scrumrat on Corellia and she's worked her way up the ladder all this time, doing all these dirty deeds, and here she is, hey, now she has the opportunity to go up the ladder again. Is that her motivation? Personally, I like to think it's because she's protecting Han and she's trying to do the best to protect them. But there is that possibility that, maybe it's a less likely scenario. Maybe she is doing it out of greed. I just wanted to share that. Overall, I love Solo, and hey, I love your guys' podcast. Keep up the great work.
All right, well, thank you, Steven, for the email. So, Jay and Taxus, what do y'all think? This was something that you were about to get into during your discussion, Taxus.
Do you want to start off, Taxus, since you kind of wanted to get into this anyway?
Oh, no, I'd rather finish.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Steven. That is so awesome that you sent this to us, and we definitely appreciate you, as well as all of our listeners. I like the idea that Kira is protecting Han, that she is taking that focus away from him, that, she's doing this maybe somewhat for selfish purposes. I mean, protecting herself as well. But, there are a lot of things that have happened along the way, if we think about it, that Han probably should have gotten in trouble for, and he should have gotten caught for, yet he didn't. So, you could argue that the Force was at work, but I like to think it was Kira, in some ways. That obviously, Crimson Dawn isn't the be all end all to,
hi guys,
things happening in the universe, but yeah, one of the things that I remember from the movie is that I think she's trapped to a degree on this.
Oh yeah,
and she. When they first run into each other, she's telling him about, she liked to sit back, and whenever she would think about him, she would, and then she gets cut off. And then later, as they're parting ways for the final time, she says the word is smile. Whenever I think about you, I smile and think of us off on some grand adventure and stuff like that. I think she made her decision for a couple reasons. One, she's stuck. She knows the abilities that Maul has and that Crimson Dawn has, and that she just can't walk away. However, Han is an unknown quantity to Crimson Dawn outside of Dryden Voss, and now he's gone. So she has an opportunity to look out for Han there. I didn't see her as someone who was lusting after power. I think she still is invested in that dream that her and Han had when they were leaving Corellia, which was they were going to buy their own ship, they were going to go on their own adventures. I just don't think that's available to her right now. I think that she's going to have to figure out some way of getting out from underneath Maul's thumb. But given some of the material that we've been given, especially last shot, I don't think that ever happens for her.
All right, so I think that to a certain extent, you guys are both right. I think that you know what? Okay, so what if she feels trapped? Whatever. I think if she said that to Han, he would say, that's complete poodoo and you know it. I don't disagree with that. We make our own destiny, and that's what Han does, okay? And the thing about it is, I feel like there's a certain amount of her that, sure, okay, hey, Han took care of a problem for her. Dryden Voss.
Right?
I don't know. It's just, if she had true courage, the moment he kissed her, she would have immediately been in. You know what I mean?
That's harsh.
It's true.
Saying the true courage.
I'm sorry, she's not courageous. I mean, Han's the one that's constantly prodding her. Let's go. Let's escape. But what about this? But what about that? But what about this? I don't care about that. Let's go. You know what I mean? Sorry, it's her character. She's not that. I'm sorry. She's not that courageous as Han is. He told Chewie, let's go. Chewie said, okay, let's do it.
Okay, but hold on. The issue here is that Han doesn't know about Maul, and she does. I think it's really harsh to say that she's not courageous in there. Courageous was sticking with Han and going to Kessel. There was a fair amount of courage there. You're absolutely right. If she had told Han about Maul, he would have been like, so what? Let's go. But she is saying, but she knows what Maul's capable of. Han does not. Han does not have a former Sith Lord breathing down his neck.
But he eventually did.
Yeah, but that came much later. And where was he in A New Hope? Which is like, he was not interested in getting on the Death Star and rescuing anybody. He was all for getting out of there until the money was thrown his way. When it came time for the Battle of Yavin, he completely changed his mind, but he was ready to cut and run and pay off Jabba and get the bounty hunters off his back. It's a different scenario. And, maybe Han would have figured out a way, but Crimson Dawn is no small organization. They are brutal. When we first get introduced to them, Dryden Voss is killing the governor. It's stabbing him in the stomach. She knows what these people are capable of, and it's one thing to run from the White Worms. It's another to run from a dark side Force user. I don't know. I think saying she's not courageous, she doesn't have courage, is a little unfair.
Yeah, she didn't have to call Maul.
And then what would have happened? You think he would have left that alone? You don't think that he would have come after that ship and wanted to know what was going on with his property?
Self-destructing ship.
I don't know. Okay, and then the ship blew up. So that's it. You don't think he'd want to know why it blew up?
He couldn't figure out what Kenobi was until he joined two holocrons together.
Okay, but
he's not omnipotent. I mean, he doesn't know everything. I'm just saying that there's moments in your life where you can choose to take them, or to say, I can't because of this and I can't because of that. And I think that's the difference between the characters of Han and Kira. And that's why I brought up the mentorship. Han is like, nothing controls me but me. And to a certain extent, he even says this later to Obi-Wan, hey, there's no all-powerful force, right? So it's almost like a good thing, but then on the other edge of the sword, it's a bad thing when he's later thinking like that. But Kira constantly allows herself to maintain herself to be under the control of somebody else.
Okay, but you don't think it's courageous at all to sacrifice yourself for the good of somebody else?
If that's what she was doing, I don't think that was. I don't think her motivation was completely pure like that, to be honest with you. And again, I'm just going to go out there. If they make more movies and we're all saying, hey, Han was so happy-go-lucky here, how come he's such a curmudgeonly old, whatever in the future? Well, we haven't seen that yet, And if it is tied to her, maybe we'll see that. I don't know.
Well, okay, but you seem to be talking at making two contradictory points here. Either she was scared and she did this, or she was all in it for the power. I don't.
Fear is a powerful motivator, man. No matter, fear helps reinforce what you feel is right.
Now you're twisting the concept of power from something I wasn't saying at all. If she was either in it for the power, she was in it for the position with Crimson Dawn, or she was afraid and there was no way out. One is there's no courage. The other one is just selfishness.
No, I think you don't understand that. What I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say is that you might inherently want to gain power, and you're utilizing the fact that somebody is instilling fear in you to allow you to say to yourself, "Okay, then I'm going to do this." You know what I'm saying? It's not contradictory.
No, I clearly don't.
The thing is, you're not saying to yourself, "I'm going to do this intentionally." It's that, hey, I kind of maybe have this in me subconsciously, and why shouldn't I do what I feel in my nature? Oh, it's because these people are probably going to threaten me or do harm to me or whatever, my loved ones.
Well, why don't we turn to Jay and let her have a comment on this, and then we will, because you and I are going to clearly have to agree to disagree on the point.
Jay, go ahead and say why I'm right.
Well, I'm sitting here listening to both sides of the story here, and from the way that I feel about it is the same thing that I said originally, is that I think she had to make this almost like a split-second decision, knowing what you said, Dennis, how powerful Maul is, how far-reaching his power is, and the things that he could possibly do. That, fear in some ways did motivate her, self-preservation did motivate her, but I also think that it was the only way that she felt that she could keep Han safe, was to leave him. So it's still my number one feeling of why she did what she did. And who wouldn't be afraid of Maul? I mean, if I was in her position, I would be wanting to do whatever I could to appease him, but yet, at the same time, use that in a way that helped me to keep someone else safe, possibly. And I could see her motivation in doing what she did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Way to go, Stephen. Way to go.
See what you started, Stephen.
You made Dennis so upset over
I'm
me
not
being
sure
right.
That's correct.
Okay, you're both pretty. Now stop.
That was funny.
All right, well, let's move on over to our Twitter poll. This was very interesting. On episode 56, we asked, Lucasfilm has asked you to determine which character should be featured in the next Star Wars story. So who is your choice? Okay, first off, before I get into the options, I want to thank everyone that voted in this poll. This was by far and away our most successful poll yet. The most votes, the most discussion, and the most response. There was so much discussion and response to this. I can't cover it all in here. There's just simply not time. But Taxus, you nominated Darth Bane as who you'd like to see in the next Star Wars story movie.
Yes.
Jay, you nominated Captain Phasma. I suggested Dr. Aphra, and then we, of course, had our other category. I am very, very surprised by the results of this poll. This did not go at all the way that I thought it was going to. With 12% of the vote, coming in last was Captain Phasma. And frankly, that's who I thought was going to win after Jay nominated her, simply because this was a character that appeared on screen that more audiences would be familiar with. Now, I guess the counter argument to that,
just saying,
there's that too. I think the other part is that most people listening to Star Wars podcasts have a deep appreciation for the rest of the expanded universe. Then coming in third was the other category, and I'll get into that in a second because there was a couple characters that got several mentions there. But then tied for first was Darth Bane and Dr. Aphra, with each getting 32% of the vote. I'm really surprised.
That was really cool. I'm surprised too. And I think a lot of that too, Dennis, has to do with the fact that, everyone knows what an aficionado of comic books you are. And so they follow you regardless. And, so I think that they've probably gotten a love for Dr. Aphra just from following you too. So I think that's a tribute to you as well.
Well, it's very nice of you to say. I appreciate that. The way I really thought that this was going to play off, it was going to be Captain Phasma or Darth Bane first, the other one second, and then Aphra third. Mainly because, and Bane's just been around for so long. That it's a classic character from a very, very popular video game that came out early in the 2000s. Was it that? Even that late, or was it the late 90s? Well, regardless. But I don't know. That was that surprised me quite a bit. So once again, thanks to everyone who voted. Some of our other comments, you can always count on Derek Spire, Raising Fangirls, to chime in, and he, I was amused by this. He said Jackson, Hasbro and Funko would have to make me a figure. Who wouldn't want a 6-foot tall green rabbit, I suppose. And then another comment I liked was from Obi-Wan Kenobi at Once a Jedi, who said, I'm all in on the obvious ones, Maul, Obi-Wan, Boba. So let's go somewhat wilder and appeal to both my love of the prequels and a desire to fill in some gaps. Sifo-Dyas, a tragedy, with a CGI Count Dooku as the backstabbing villain.
Yeah, I like that one. I like that.
There was something about the way that one was written that it seemed very Shakespearean to me. So,
that is true.
But then here's I guess we should have seen this coming. We had 9 write-in votes for Ahsoka. So that one, and there was lots of pictures and GIFs, and so that we definitely should have seen that one coming.
Okay, so Ahsoka's really hard though to work into all this. You know what I mean? Because so much is being done with her in all the other literature and everything. It's kind of hard unless you like either do during the rebellion or even after the rebellion.
I agree with you. I was very tempted to throw up another Twitter poll, and we still may do this one someday, about if there were to be a Ahsoka Star Wars story movie, when would you want it set? And you really have a lot of options there. You could do it during the Clone Wars. You could do it in the time period between Clone Wars and A New Hope. And even then, that's 2 distinct areas. We have the Ahsoka novel, but you could do some of her further adventures on her own there when she was kind of just getting in with the rebellion. Then you could do some of her adventures with the rebellion. And then there's the whole quest to find Ezra with Sabine is a possibility. And quite honestly, that's how I'd like to see that. I'd like to see them do an animated movie at some point focusing on Ahsoka and Sabine out there looking for Ezra and getting into some sort of adventure there.
Along with the wolves in space?
They can leave the wolves on Lothal, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
But then the other popular selection, well, it was at least the second most written in, was Thrawn. So I guess that shouldn't be too surprising. I think what would be getting in the way of Thrawn was we've kind of got his backstory in the novel and the tie-in comic, and we're getting another one here soon. I don't think they'll really have left enough space in order to tell a Thrawn story, because they gave us all that.
I was going to suggest that, but then I decided that it should be with Thrawn.
Okay. Well, thanks again to everyone that voted on that. So here is this week's Twitter poll. It is time for summer vacation. Happy summer, Scoundrels. Where in the Star Wars galaxy are you packing your bags for this summer? Jay, since you finished in last, you get the honors of going first.
Ladies and
losers. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, last isn't always a bad thing, because I get to go first this time. So, all right. So, where would I go? Well, my favorite places are the beach, the woods, and just somewhere, just nice. So for me, it would be between Naboo, Scarif, which I know sounds weird, but it's a beach planet, and Kashyyyk. And the only thing about Kashyyyk is I'm wondering about how big the mosquitoes might be.
Edible size.
Yeah. So, but I love the woods, and I would love to see a Worship tree. But I think I'm going to go with Naboo. There's just a lot to do there. There's a lot of beautiful places. The lake country is gorgeous, as we've seen. Talking about Italy, this is one that definitely, it was filmed in Italy. So, so I'm going to go with Naboo.
Okay. Yeah, that was going to be my choice, but
lots to do on Naboo.
Right.
Mine too.
Okay. Well, Taxus, what's your second choice?
Well, I guess I'm going to say Hoth, because I think some skiing is in order. Especially since it's in the middle of summer. It's going to be super hot, especially if you're in Italy, Texas, not Italy. So I'm going to say Hoth, and I'm boldly going to say that because I know it's going to just completely fail.
Okay. Well, I am going to go with Coruscant, and here's why. Naboo was my first choice because, well, all the reasons that Jay just said. But with that having been picked, I think what would be fun about Coruscant is I can't imagine that planet doesn't have some of the best museums in the world, and possibly. And then on top of that, I am betting you could go on one amazing culinary tour of the galaxy while you're there as well.
Good point.
And not to mention, if there's any type of entertainment you want to see, it's going to be there. I mean, the Mon Calamari Opera has been there. I am supposing Fig and Dan and the modal nodes would probably show up there from time to time. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, whatever you want, you're going to be able to find there. Now, normally I'm not a big fan of like enormous cities, but I am guessing, if you put together a nice vacation budget, you could pick out get yourself a nice little vacation there. The other spot that I considered that I'm not going with would have been Canto Bight, if you're feeling like maybe doing a little gambling. But
like a little Vegas. What happens in Canto Bight stays in Canto Bight.
Well, I was about to ask. So I assume this was a family vacation, but is this like maybe a vacation with my other Sith Lords?
You can make it whatever you want.
Well, if that's what it is, then I'm going to go with Nar Shaddaa. Yeah.
Yeah,
because it's naughty Nar Shaddaa. Yeah.
Well, my problem with Nar Shaddaa is I'm not sure you come back from that one alive.
That's what I hope for.
Luke went there, and the next thing he knew, he found himself in an arena fighting a giant monster. So
good times.
Yeah, that was
good times.
Okay. Well, Scoundrels, we want to know. So what you think? So look for that poll on our Twitter page. And after you voted, head over to our Discord page with the rest of the Retro Zap crew, and we'll talk about it there.
Yeah.
All right, we are drawing near the end of another episode. What do you two have coming up for our Scoundrels to look forward to?
Well, I have to say, I loved how you said at the end of 56.1 that Jay has promised us that she'll be writing some new reviews for Coffee with Kenobi. And I will. I will. I do have several things to review for my Core Worlds Couture column. So I'm going to be digging into that here within the next couple of weeks. So you can look forward to that. And, as well as just talking to me on Twitter. I mean, hey, anytime. Talk to us. Discord's great.
Mm-hmm. And you can find me over on the Assembly Geeks Network with the Geek Supreme with Scott Murray, Jeff McGee, and Regina Davis talking about all things geek in a fun game show style. And recently, I was a guest on a little podcast. I'm not sure if you guys heard about this. I don't know, rack your brains. Coffee with Kenobi.
Mm-hmm.
Heard about that? Yeah. I had to look it up. I had to look it up before I went on there to make sure it tested out fine, but looked like it was pretty good. So you can find me on there. I had a good discussion with Den F105 fame and of course Dan Zer about some solo stuff. So
nice.
I'm leaving that intentionally mysterious, so you have to go listen to the episode.
All right. Well, as usual, I have some recent Star Wars comic reviews over on RetroZap. Some of the reviews include Star Wars number 49 and The Force Awakens number 3. Also, if you enjoyed our Darth Vader discussion from episode 56.1, you can find all our reviews of those individual issues there as well. And you can also find my Star Wars blogs over on Coffee with Kenobi. There'll be another one coming very soon. Scoundrels, thank you for listening and for your support. If you've enjoyed the show, this has been Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels, and we would love a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts, especially iTunes, which is also known as Apple Podcasts. On the other hand, if you didn't like this, we ask that you not snitch on us to Lady Proxima. We're out of rocks. With that in mind, we do appreciate any time you share our show posts on Twitter and Facebook. Please let others know you're listening by sharing the show with a tweet or a post. A special thanks to everyone that has taken the time to share our show with their social media friends.
And And speaking of social media, Starship Sabers and Scoundrels can be followed on Twitter and Instagram at @scubedpod and liked on Facebook, where we are facebook.com/scubedpod. If you want to follow Darth Taxus on Twitter, he is at Darth Taxus. Dennis is at DJKVER2, and I am at Joyce Krebs. Don't forget about our page on the RetroZap Discord server. We'll be there talking about Solo and Star Wars frequently. You can find links to that in our show notes and on our social media. You can reach us by email at scubedpod@retrozap.com. We would love to hear your thoughts on the recent video game announcement or Solo Star Wars story. But if you have anything else that's on your mind, Star Wars related or not, then let us know. Emails, really good tweets, and iTunes reviews end up in Silence Fools. Again, our email address is scubedpod@retrozap.com. And it was so funny because on Idiot's Array recently, they called us Scubed.
Yes, they did.
Scubed. I was like scuba.
Yeah, I'll take that to my grave. Good job, Alan.
It made me laugh. I thought it was funny.
Get it right next time. And of course, we are happy, oh so very happy to be part of the RetroZap.com podcast network. Hey, did you know RetroZap is home to 20 podcasts? I did. And I'm cool. Please check out RetroZap for other great shows, including the Superhero Suite featuring Jay, Jovial Jay, and Josh, of course. And those are some wonderful shows talking all about the CW series. You got Arrow, and you've got, others. Other Star Wars shows, such as Skywalking Through Neverland, everybody knows them, Beltway, Banthas, nice political commentary about the Star Wars universe, Kanata's Castle, you've got Becca and Red 5 Mom talking and discussing, which doesn't rhyme with talking. I was trying to work something in there. And Brews and Blasters, of course, everybody knows that. Collecting shows like The Dork Glare, as we had Bill and his cohorts. Well, not his cohorts, just Bill in the last episode. And other wonderful shows like the Anime Cast, all about the Animaniacs. The ARGcast, which is about retro gaming. The Deuce Cast, and Techno Retro Dads. Everybody loves Techno Retro Dads, and I, for one, am a major Techno Retro fan. Also, be sure to check out our Scoundrels t-shirts on TeePublic. Just go to tpublic.com/users/SQPod, and why do I still say / I am so old, or just search for us on the site. They're the perfect thing to wear if you want to eat a cheeseburger.
And you can also get tote bags, and you can also get lots of other things there too. So they just recently had a sale. Always look for TeePublic sales because they run 30% off, and it's a great deal. So don't miss out.
I'm always looking for a bag to put my tote in.
There you go.
Thanks to Aaron Lay for our show logos, and to James Volpe, the Sky Geek, for our The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly show logo. And special thanks to Mario, Dave, Joey Letson, Paul, and the rest of the Scoundrels players for lending us their talents.
And here is our disclaimer. Starship Sabers and Scoundrels is not endorsed, affiliated with, or sponsored by Lucasfilm Limited and or Disney. This show is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All characters, music, sounds are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. All else is the intellectual property of Starship Sabers and Scoundrels unless otherwise indicated.
All right, guys. Any final thoughts?
Well, what else are you looking forward to in Chicago, Taxus?
Oh, all the great food, of course.
All the high-calorie food?
Yeah, that's the curse of the bloat.
Okay, well, that's going to do it for episode 57 of Starship Sabers and Scoundrels. Always, thanks for listening and joining us this week. Until next time, may the Force be with you, and Kelly Marie Tran, hang in there. We all love you.
Amen.
And I'm going to bring Pepto-Bismol. He's not omnipotent. He's not omnipotent. He's not omnipotent. Thank you. Dang it. Sorry.
What happened, man?
Are you okay?
Yeah, I just knocked my my cord, and it was like knocking back and forth and wasn't stopping, so I was trying to stop it, and then
I thought someone ran in there and tackled you.
Oh no.
All right, here we go.
I'm so slap happy right now. It's not even funny.